I'm so grateful that you come back from Fika and come to this session. My name is Jifeng. I work as a lead SRE of Mojang AB. And today I'm going to talk about our journey, our lessons learned from migrating and running services in Kubernetes. Some warning, I'm not actually a Kubernetes expert, so just in case you think I'm talking nonsense or rubbish, I have this slide that is, there's only one thing that you can take away from this talk. Well, I was originally from China, and I seldom eat rice. And, well, why is that? Yeah, well, people think that everybody eats rice, but actually some people, or some percentage of people don't do that, or seldom do that. In fact, the place I came from is so dry that it's not possible to grow rice. Rice is just like another dish you eat like once a week or something. We eat bread and noodles. But with that said, it's basically you have this popular image of something, and Kubernetes is a hot topic. But I want to remind you that you have to think about your miles may vary, and my miles may vary when we'll take like my advice from this talk. So some background of our team at Mojang. We have like 20 or so not so microservices written in Java. They are mostly REST APIs. They support Minecraft Java edition with 29 million copies sold. I can't disclose more data about that, but a big chunk of them are active players. So we support all of them, like logins, skins, and stuff. We do immutable infrastructure, meaning we don't really run Chef or Puppet. We do auto-scaling based on resource usage. And we have 5 awesome developers and 2 awesome SREs. OK, I'm one of them, so I'm a little bit selfish by saying that, awesome. But we believe we build them, we run them, we scale them. So there's no separate operations department. Basically, we have to make sure everything will go well. So the big question, why Kubernetes? Well, we don't want to be the old man that doesn't really know the cool stuff on the streets. Well, like Kubernetes, the cool kid on the street, but no, it's a joke. Basically, you need a better reason than just cool. So seriously, we think that Kubernetes can bring us better high availability. It can create better developer efficiency, better resource utilization, and some sort of cloud independent, et cetera, if done right. So in a nutshell, it improves our operational excellence. Operational excellence, you say. What does that really mean? Well, that's something we believe in. HA, security, performance efficiency, cost optimization, and developer efficiency. So enough talking about that background. That's how we did the migration. So this is basically the traffic that goes to the Kubernetes cluster while we migrate the services. So actually, we started not from, this is the first blue circle. It says there like September, mid-September. Actually, we start from before that, in August. And we finished the migration in like mid-October. So there we have 100% traffic goes to the Kubernetes cluster. Was it worth it? Well, after migration, we have like a rolling update. Before that, we have killed them all. And our uptime is better. For example, our authentication service, the uptime went from 99.75 to 99.99, or for 3 months uptime. And we have 20% lower server cost. And the time to set up a new service is from basically all 8 hours to 1 hour. And we kept the 99.9 percentile latency at the same level, basically. So which means, well, as you have listened to the talk, the keynote, well, it doesn't really mean something, but at least we know, yeah, at least we know it's the same thing as before the migration, so it didn't make it worse. I can probably come back to that later. Let's see how I can go how far I can go for my presentation as well. We have only 15 minutes. So here are our lessons learned. First one, don't do big bang migration. We started from one service to begin with, like the ones that are very lightweighted, and we use weighted record so that we can actually control the traffic that routed to the old stack and the new stack, or non-Kubernetes and Kubernetes. And why we are doing that? Well, we were doing that because we want to build confidence. None of us were Kubernetes expert, or not now either. We don't know it at all. But by doing that one service in the beginning, you see all those blue arrows, we start to build confidence. And you see those two the red arrows, that's when I applied the wrong config in production, basically. I applied the staging config to production, and we were able to quickly route the traffic back to the old cluster before we figure out, okay, we didn't really know Kubernetes that well. We made a mistake. So all these things helped. I mean, building confidence, and one service at a time in the beginning, it gives you time to learn, to make changes. And those 4 green circles later, that's when we had the confidence to push the big switches to actually migrate more service at a time and route more traffic to the new cluster. And we were able to do that with the confidence because we have already solved most of the problems in the beginning. But imagine doing a big bang migration, even with 20 services, it would be really, well, insane. And second, do expect a steep learning curve. Kubernetes was invented by the ones that most clever on this planet, I believe. It takes time to understand what they were thinking. Sometimes I can't really understand what they were thinking. And the third one, choose a Kubernetes solution. That means, well, host your own control plane or use the hosted control plane, meaning if you're on, doesn't matter which cloud vendor you're on, they probably have an offering for you that already take care of the control plane. Like in our case, we are a small team. We can't afford the time to set up and maintain the control plane. The next one is make a production ready checklist. That means for us, we have make sure auto-scaling still works, high HA works. We still have the good security, automation, monitoring. But it could mean something different for you, but anything that you think is production ready for your service. So actually, in fact, the most of our migration time we spend on were actually making sure we checked all the checkboxes. Next one, be careful and take care of your kubeconfig files. We went to an approach that we have separate kubeconfig files per cluster so that when we operate for kubectl, we know that it's within one context. But still, I made a mistake by applying to the production cluster. And there are tools like kubectx and kubeps1. They basically help you to display the cluster information from the command line. That can help you a little bit. Next one, tuning the rolling updates. It's good to have it. I mean, if you didn't have it before, it's very good to have it. But the default value, 25% max available and 25% max search may not good enough, or may not quick enough, or slow enough. In our case, it was probably too quick for us, so we had some errors when doing the rolling updates. So there is a suggestion to go extreme, that 0 max available, 1 max search, meaning you only create one new pod at a time and kill the old one when it's ready. But it will basically delay your deployment. And Kubernetes brings totally different auto-scaling. Meaning before, you only auto-scale your servers, that's it. But now we have 2 levels. One level is the cluster level, the servers. There's cluster autoscaler that can help you. But on the service level, there's HPA, or horizontal pod autoscaler, that can help you as well. Next one, totally different infrastructure automation. Before we use Terraform. Before it's like we provision the servers, that's it. But now, after provisioning the Kubernetes cluster, we have to manually install some stuff like our Datadog agent, like a kube dashboard, those things are semi-automated. Do you understand the Kubernetes quality of service, meaning those three best effort, burstable, and guaranteed? They are really tricky to understand, but do make sure that you read through them and understand what do they mean. And if you're in doubt, you can use guaranteed for best reliability, although it will use more resources. Making sure the kube-system services are HA, meaning, like, for example, in our case, kubeDNS wasn't. It came with the provider, but it has only one replica. If it is done, there will be big problems. You have to manually scale them up. If you have other services, that maybe you have to do the same thing. Do understand the probes, meaning the liveness probe and the readiness probe, and to know when to use which. And if you haven't split them, do split them. In our case, we didn't, and we soon realized, okay, it's too early to accept traffic to the service, to the pods. Next one, Helm. That's a big question. It's good for templating, but it adds another layer of abstraction. Like I said, Kubernetes has a steep learning curve. This basically add another learning curve for you. In our case, the requirement is very simple, so we actually went to SED for that time. We basically have one thing to template. It's the Docker image version. Last but not the least, we call it connection draining holy grail, or those mysterious 500s, the errors. We noticed that when we do rolling updates, and scaling up and scaling down. And the first of them here, it's a wall of text. First of them actually mentioned them. And the third one is actually you also need to understand the pod lifecycle. I mean, how Kubernetes manages the pods. And how kubeproxy works, meaning IP tables, like already established sockets. They are not really closed properly. So sometimes the requests are still going to the old pods, which is not there anymore. And make sure your application handle sick term. Amazingly, many of them don't. And in our case, it didn't handle sick term. And basically, it crashes when Kubernetes will kill the pod or terminate the pod. But there, if it can't, there's a pre-stop hook hack. You can have a sleep command there that doesn't get rid of all the errors, the 500, but still reduces some. And beware that Java have some DNS caching problem. You have to make sure it doesn't really cache them forever. And last one also is maybe you should consider adding retry logic in your clients. It's not a big topic. Maybe it's not the best solution, but that's a way to also reduce the 500s, the aftermath of the 500s. So that's it. I hope you learned there's something useful. And just in case it's not, I still have this slide. Thank you very much. We have 2 minutes for some questions. Do anybody have any? Yes?
How about databases?
No, databases, they are still like the old way. These ones are stateless, basically. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conference.